Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today I'm going over a poll from the Noble Predictive Insights which discusses the 2026 Arizona governor's race, both the Republican primary and where things stand right now in the general election. So without any further ado, let's get into it. This poll was conducted between May 12th and May 16th and surveyed about 1,026 registered voters in Arizona, yielding a margin of error of 3.06%. So in this poll, it finds that Republican Karen Taylor-Robson actually has the support of 24% of Republicans compared to U.S. Rep. Andy Biggs, who only has 17%. Now, Charlie Kirk, the Turning Point USA founder, has 17%. He has not said he is running in this race. There is some potential interest he could, but even still. Now, it is worth noting that Charlie Kirk, the CEO of Turning Point USA, has already endorsed Andy Biggs, so he will not be running in this race. Kimberly Yee is also ruled out running for this. She is currently the Arizona State Treasurer. She is running for Superintendent of Public Instruction in Arizona. So barring another candidate that comes out of nowhere, it's looking like it's going to be Andy Biggs versus Karen Taylor-Robson as the two most notable Republicans. And in this poll, as I was just showing, Robson leads over Biggs 24-17, which is actually different than what some of the other polls we've seen have shown. But 37% of respondents say they are not sure as of yet. Given Biggs and Kirk's, both of them having the endorsement of President Trump, it is certainly very significant. When you look at overall the polling numbers they give, loyal supporter of Donald Trump, Karen Taylor-Robson has 46% to Andy Biggs' 37%. It is worth noting both of them have the co-endorsement of Donald Trump, but Karen Taylor-Robson did receive the endorsement of Donald Trump first before Andy Biggs did. That also asks the poll, which one of these two do you believe would be willing to break with Trump when he/she disagrees? 4% more say Karen Taylor-Robson than Andy Biggs. When asked which one of these two can win the general election, Andy Biggs leads this one, 39% to 24%, which is very interesting because much of the discourse online is that Andy Biggs is more likely to lose the general election than Karen Taylor-Robson, so that's very interesting to see that. Among the core key issues here, taxes, Robson has an advantage of 2 points. Cutting government spending, Biggs leads by 4. Focus on getting businesses to move to Arizona, Biggs has about a 3-point lead here. Creating growth overall, Robson's up 2. Strong border enforcement, Robson leads over Biggs by about 6 points. Pro-life policies, Biggs leads by about 9. Conservative positions on LGBT has Biggs up 1. Willing to compromise with Democrats, 13% believe Biggs is more willing to compromise with Democrats than Karen Taylor-Robson. Experience in elected office, 40% compared to 10% for Biggs. Experience in private, Robson 34 to 18. Ability to solve local issues like water availability, Biggs leads 39-28. It's interesting, it's kind of going back and forth between the two, which suggests why the polls on this race are so close. As for the general election now, it shows that Katie Hobbs versus Karen Taylor-Robson is a 2-point race. Hobbs has 41%, Robson 39%. 3% say a third-party candidate, 17% at this time say they are not sure. Find similar numbers between Katie Hobbs and Andy Biggs. 40% say they support Hobbs, 38% say they support Biggs, 5% say a third-party candidate in this matchup, 17% are not sure. So it's very interesting. Both of these numbers fall within the margin of error of 3.06%. So this race is under the margin of error and it is going to be a very, very close race leading into Election Day. This poll is very interesting because when you examine some of the other news from the Arizona Senate race, or Arizona governor's race, the 3 other polls that have been included thus far all have had Andy Biggs leading over Karen Taylor-Robson and by pretty substantial margins too. Now the Noble Predictive Insights poll that just came out is a multi-candidate poll. So Charlie Kirk getting 17% and Kimberly Yee getting 6%, when we know that now Kirk and Yee will not be running for this race, certainly could affect the numbers, and maybe when everything is said and done, Andy Biggs does have a larger lead over Karen Taylor-Robson when Kirk and Yee are taking out. But especially considering Charlie Kirk has now endorsed Andy Biggs, if that 17% goes to Biggs, that'd be a 34-24 lead at that point. But we have to wait and see for the next Noble Predictive poll they do to see how that ends up going. But it is very interesting, at very least, that Robson does have a little bit of the lead in this poll. The other polls that had her at 24%, Biggs at 17, Biggs is likely to have more than that, but still, nonetheless, is an interesting conversation for this race. As for the general election, this only confirms the fact that this is going to be a very close race. All the rankings from Cook, Politico, Sabato, and Inside Elections has it as a toss-up race. This poll, 2-point lead for Hobbs over Biggs, is consistent with the 4-point lead from back in April under the margin of error for Hobbs versus Biggs, a 2-point lead from Noble back in February under the margin of error, and the 1-point lead for Biggs back in February under the margin of error. Whereas for Karen Taylor-Robson, pretty similar. And this one, Hobbs is leading by 2 points under the margin of error, but the Pulse Decision poll had about a 9-point lead that's over the margin. Noble, the last one in February, an 8-point lead that's over the margin, and the one from February as well, a 2-point that's under the margin. So in 2 polls, it seems Hobbs and Robson are running pretty similarly to what Hobbs and Biggs are running. 2 polls also show Hobbs has a larger lead, though, over Karen Taylor-Robson. So this race is going to be very interesting. Both Hobbs and Biggs, Robson and Biggs are harboring around that high 30, low 40% mark. The only difference is Robson is yet to break 40% in any polls, whereas it seems in 2 Republican polls, Biggs has broken 40%. In the Noble polls, the only 2 polls that have been done that are not affiliated with the Republicans or Democrats, Biggs has been at 38% in both of them, whereas Hobbs was at 35%, or Robson was at 35% versus Hobbs. Now Robson has gone up to 39%. So it shows another close race that thus far the incumbent Democratic Governor Katie Hobbs has been leading by about 2 points in this poll. But again, it is under the margin of error, so it is going to be very close. The presidential race in 2024, Donald Trump did win by 5.5%. Republicans saw a bit of a resurgence in Arizona in large part due to Maricopa County, the largest county in the state by population. Donald Trump won this area by 3.5%. This is after 2020 when Joe Biden won this county by 2.2%. So Trump's win in Arizona can largely be attributed to the gains he made back in Maricopa County. Whereas the governor's race in 2022, Katie Hobbs defeated Kari Lake by 0.67% in a very close race, and Katie Hobbs was able to narrowly win Maricopa County versus Kari Lake. So as Maricopa goes, seems to go the state of Arizona. And Katie Hobbs was able to win against Lake in a very close election, separating by about 17,000 votes between Hobbs and Lake's margins of victory. And after this very close win in 2022, as long as Kari Lake was not the Republican nominee again in 2026, their race is looked at a top GOP pickup for 2026. And it's certainly going to be one of the closest races in the country. Back in 2018, which was a Democratic midterm year, Republican Governor Doug Ducey won re-election by 14.2%. Before that, 2014, Ducey won a first term by 11.8%. On the Senate side of things, Arizona currently has 2 Democratic senators. In 2024, Ruben Gallego was able to defeat Kari Lake, who was running for Senate this time, by 2.4%. So that was a win for Ruben Gallego. Back in 2022, Mark Kelly, who was first elected in a special election in 2020, defeated Martha McSally by 2.3 and defeated Republican Blake Masters by 4.9. So at the Senate level, Arizona's actually been lean Democrat the past few election cycles. The presidential level, it voted for Donald Trump in 2016 by 3.5%. 2020, it voted for Joe Biden by 0.31. And then in 2024, Trump had a resurgence and won by 5.5. The governor's race is the ultimate toss-up of the two. 2022 was a very close election, but we're going to have to wait and see, does Katie Hobbs have enough support to hold on in an election environment that should be favoring the Democrats, but in a Republican state, or in a state that voted Republican by 5.5% for President Trump back in 2024. But we did see in that same ballot where Trump won the presidential race, Ruben Gallego also won the Senate race. So Arizona voters seem to have no problem splitting their ticket and voting Republican or Democrat for different offices. So what this means for 2026, it's going to be very, very close. And I just want to show you now the trends. In 2024, I'll just compare the presidential race, then I'll do the governor's race as well. Arizona shifted 5.8% from 2020 to 2024 towards the Republicans. From 2016 to 2024, Arizona shifted about 2 points towards the Republicans. From 2012, Arizona shifted about 3.5%. From 2020, when you look at 2016 to 2020, the state shifted about 4 points towards the Democrats. Now let's look at the governor's level. And if you saw what the results were in 2018, you know this is going to be a massive shift. 2022 to 2018, Arizona shifted 14.8% from the Republicans to the Democrats. I will bet it won't be as much of a shift come 2026, but this is going to be a very close race. Looking at the presidential one, just to compare Maricopa County in particular here, from 2020 to 2024, Maricopa County shifted 5.7% towards Donald Trump. From 2016 to 2024, Maricopa only shifted towards Trump 0.65%. And in 2012, Maricopa shifted 712 or 7.2 from the Republicans to the Democrats from 2012 to 2024. Maricopa County is going to be the big indicator for this election. Can the Republican, whether it's Andy Biggs or Karen Taylor-Robson, win Maricopa County by the same levels that we saw Donald Trump win it by in 2024? Or is Katie Hobbs able to hold on and replicate a very close election victory like we saw her do in 2022? Right now, this election is going to be very close. It's one of the closest elections in the entire country for 2026 for the governor's races. My last prediction I had, which came out about a week ago, I actually had Andy Biggs winning the state of Arizona by under 1%. And it's really going to be a lot of different factors clashing against each other. The incumbency advantage certainly gives Katie Hobbs an advantage. The election environment for 2026 suggests Katie Hobbs should have the advantage on that one as well. The trends in the state from 2020 to 2024 suggest Andy Biggs should have the advantage. From 2016 to 2024, again, suggests Andy Biggs should be in the advantage. From 2012 to 2024, suggests Katie Hobbs should have the advantage. So it's really a bunch of factors going up against each other that really says it's going to be a very close race. I do think at the end of the day, though, Andy Biggs is able to narrowly get enough votes to unseat Katie Hobbs by less than 1% of the vote, flipping this race from blue to red in a very close margin. But I can certainly understand the argument for why many have Katie Hobbs holding onto this race and winning re-election, because the early polling so far does show Katie Hobbs would narrowly hold on and win by about 2 points. How it goes, we'll have to wait and see, but I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit like and subscribe if you did, and I hope to see you in a future video.